All right, boys, it is time to talk about light load, aka light rolling. Now, this is a problem that's been going on for about a year now. It was around 1.5 or 1.6 that light load got buffed to where the light roll more so resembled Dark Souls 3's version, where it was noticeably longer. See, the thing that light load always had going from it from day one is that you were able to queue another roll a little bit faster. It was somewhere between like 1 and 3 frames faster. But the problem was is that with poise being as necessary as it has generally always been, but especially in those older days, there was essentially no reason to run lighter armor. There was no reason to be able to be stunned by anything and everything, rather than just poise tank quite literally almost anything directly to the face. But the thing is that when they changed the light roll to be further, they made a serious mistake, because Elden Ring, because of the contextual nuances when it comes to new things that were added, and just the way that most weapons with their forward momentum were balanced to be able to roll catch medium roll, light roll being further just makes everything worse. And today that is exactly what we're going to talk about. It is not just for the person who is fighting someone using light roll. It is a bad experience for the people who are either using it or the people who are fighting it, and we're going to go through that. And also for the people that are probably screaming at their monitors that technically you can make a light roll build that is using heavy armor, I will eventually get to that, so wait until that dedicated part of the video. It's probably going to be in the second half. So, there's one good thing I can say about light load in its current state, is that if you are fighting a mage, it can help you close the distance better, It can help you close the distance better, which I think is an underutilized purpose for light load, and it's something that I have found quite a bit of success using myself. But time to talk about the long list of negatives. So, essentially, one of the most important things it does is it completely ruins spacing, and the reason it does this is because most weapons cannot roll catch a light load character. There is a small plethora of weapons that can roll catch someone on good net, and if you start off trying to roll catch someone with them essentially touching you, there's a couple weapons that have enough forward momentum to catch the light roller, but on anything resembling a normal amount of latency and a normal distance to be away from your opponent when you go for a roll catch, there's a very small pool of weapons that are able to roll catch something like that, predominantly being things like running R1s from halberds, the most important one being running L1s from power stance power stance spears, and the running R2 from heavy thrusting swords. Those are the only things that are able to consistently catch someone panic rolling with light roll, especially when you're not that close to them in the first place, not quite literally touching their player model. Something that you should always have on a build if you can afford it is power stance spears, and a huge reason why, other than them being broken, is that it is one of the few things that makes light work out of light roll. Since it's so fast, not very telegraphed, so much forward momentum, and so hard hitting, it goes to show how unbalanced light load is that it takes something so overpowered to be able to counter it consistently. Latency makes light load the worst. Essentially, you are never going to catch somebody that has even a modicum of latency with you. The ability for light load to roll and queue up another roll faster than normal medium rolling makes this so much worse. Not only are you not going to be able to keep up with them, which, thank God, in recent patches, they can't literally outrun you with rolling. Yes, that is mostly gone, but even still, just the ability to queue those rolls just a slight bit faster makes it to where any latency difference is more noticeable and a bigger problem. Another huge problem is that it is essentially a ganking tool. See, I'm going to have a section here in a moment talking about what if you are the invader using light load, in which case it's a shit experience. But the thing is that when you are fighting multiple people, you cannot direct your attention at one person for too long, because the other person will notice and they will start attacking you. And if they attack you, the other person gets away and they heal, and you are in a bad situation. Well, if you're getting the host really low down and he's light rolling, there's a very good chance you will not be able to catch him, especially with latency. and his overleveled boyfriend is going to hit you for half your HP. And I mean, it doesn't have to be that cynical of an example, but the truth of the matter is that if you're fighting somebody on the home team that has light rolling, you are not going to catch them if they panic roll 9 times out of 10. Light rolling also makes mages worse to deal with because they are able to get out of your pressure more freely. And that's the thing, mages do not need this extra ability. They're already so powerful on their own with just normal medium roll that, especially in gank situations, but just any situation in general, if someone is able to get out of your pressure and continue their bullshit spam, well, you're going to have to essentially run them dry of their mana bar because you're not going to be able to consistently stay on them. And like I said before, it essentially takes away spacing because once the initial neutral is broken, the distance you travel, if you travel backwards with your light roll, which you will the majority of the time, it is essentially going to make it to where almost nothing can catch you, and it immediately resets neutral without you having to worry about getting chained together, them trying to roll catch you over and over, different running R1s, different jumping attacks, stuff like this. When you roll once and dodge an attack, that does not indicatively mean that your opponent's attempt to try and end your chain is over, right? But essentially with light load it is, because the distance you travel is so large that unless they're running power stance spears or a small other couple of things, yes, their aggression is over, essentially. The thing is, however, is that light load is not that advantageous to an invader, which is the fucked up part. You will get ran down with power stance spears if you start light loading. When I was trying to get today's footage, all I was fucking fighting was people using power stance spears because it is the easiest way to dispatch of someone using light load. There is essentially nothing you can do against somebody that is using it other than just keep running away and keep on not getting hit by L1s, but you're eventually going to get hit by them. You also can't maintain pressure very well at all because your defenses are so low. Eventually they're just going to outtrade you as you are trying to land your combos and pseudo combos. Now granted, you can go glass cannon and it does negate this somewhat, but if you hit one guy that decides to trade you and his buddy also hits you at the same time, which is going to happen very frequently, then yes, you just lost that trade and your hyper build is very close to death or you are dead. Another thing is as well is that you're going to fight plenty of mages as an invader, and even the smallest things like Swift Glintstone Pebble, the throwing daggers, it will all stun you. And that's just not okay. When you are trying to fight 3 people, you need to stay out of hit stun, because if you get stunned, well, you're probably going to get hit twice, 3 times, 4 times, and that is going to be the majority of your HP bar. So light load not having that ability essentially makes you have an over-reliance on Endure, and Endure very easily becomes a very brain-dead Ash of War. So not only are you working with one bullshit mechanic, brain-dead mechanic, you're working with 2. And the last thing is as well is that once again, it is a crutch, being able to get out of aggressive play so easily. So if you use light load a bunch, well, there's a very good chance it is going to make you realize once you swap back to medium rolling that your spacing and your ability to mitigate your opponent's aggression is actually a lot shittier than you thought it was. You are going to realize that a lot of things that weren't roll catching you should have been, and that your timing is all out of fucking whack. Now, the big shit kicker is that these advantages and disadvantages can essentially be thrown out the window when you realize that you can get light roll without running very light armor. Whether it because you have a Fashion Souls idea in mind that is light armor, or a middling armor that you can still make light roll, that is still worse than running either a shit ton of endurance and running moderately heavy armor, or using the physic that essentially makes it to where you can hold almost anything in the game and light roll for 3 minutes. Like seriously, people do not talk about that one physic tier. I've forgotten the name of it. Honestly, maybe that's for the best so people don't get incentivized to go use it. But essentially, you are able to wear full bull goats and power stance, crazy shit, and light roll. And that is not used too often, I suppose, because most people are wanting to use the Crimson Bubble tier, which is understandable. It's the closest thing we have to Tears of Denial. But truly, the power of this physic cannot be understated. And realistically, anytime you see someone use this, just like light load in general, it drags out the fight horrifically because it's a better idea to just run from your opponent for 3 minutes than try to deal with this. So what do you get, essentially? Well, you have 30% of armors that are actually good to run for medium rolling, that are going to have good defenses and poise, but in my humble opinion, other than like 2 or 3 exceptions, the mass majority of them look like utter trash. And what you have is the bottom 70% of armors that, sure, not all of them are super Omega light, but you could fairly easily make them a light roll sort of armor setup. But the thing is that they are just so much worse due to their lower poise and their inability to have good defenses at all. And this is where a lot of the cool armor in the game is. So if you're running Fashion, you're not only becoming worse at the game because you are most likely going to choose to run light load, but you're also going to have a very unsatisfying experience because there are multiple aspects of the game, whether good or bad, that either get taken away or are exacerbated. And other than light load essentially being a ganking tool for being able to always get out of a sticky situation that you should not have gotten out of, what light load is more than anything is just a direct buff to the assholes that are overleveled phantoms. You can run so much equipment and still light load when you are max level, okay? And so really what it is more than anything is taking people that are very close or at max level and rewarding them because they can run crazy heavy armor, crazy good weapons, and just not be punished for it. There's no defensive, detractions or poise detractions you have to worry about. You just have this extra length to your roll. You can fuck up 90 times in the face of this level 50 invader, and you can just roll away to Kingdom Come and go heal somewhere while the host is spamming magic at them, and it's a lost cause. There's no reason to try and contest that. It is a direct buff to people that do not need a direct buff. And truly the point of all of this is to say that light load, if we're talking about actual light to moderately light armor, the things that you would think that you would use light load with, forces you into a passive playstyle and rewards you for it, because there is nothing stronger about light load than rolling backwards, and you don't have the poise to make more aggressive plays or the defenses, so you have to play passive. And that's the thing. Playing passive in these games is not that difficult, right? Thankfully, Elden Ring does a better job at aggressive play than Dark Souls 3 ever did. But the thing is that the level of passive play you unlock just by light loading is still too great. So here I have written a couple ideas as to how light load can be changed to make it both different and a unique playstyle while rewarding aggression and proper play rather than passivity. So whether you like one of these ideas or say like 2 if they were together or whatnot, just let me know in the comments what you think. Just give me your ideas because I really do want light load to be something that is not a skill issue to run. So the first things first, the distance traveled needs to be the exact same as medium load. Medium load and the distance that you travel with a roll on medium load is what this game is balanced around. Any longer and you throw that out of whack. What it has to have happen is that it can keep the queuing another roll 1 to 3 frames faster. I forgot the exact frame data in my brain, it's been a while, but it is slightly faster. It's pretty minuscule, and I think that can stay, generally. But we want to give a couple other things that only really benefit somebody who's playing aggressively. So here's some of the other ideas. Decrease stamina from attacking. So say if all of your moves had a stamina consumption buff, right, where you did not consume as much stamina, meaning that you were able to continue your combos and chains for longer amounts of time, right, rewarding the person who's mixing up multiple weapons, trying different moves, all this crazy stuff. I think that could be a pretty good change for somebody that is playing aggressively, because if you're playing very passively, you're probably not taking big chunks out of your stamina bar in the first place. This is a bit of an iffy one, but it is still an idea. Roll attacks coming out slightly faster. However, that would introduce a problem for perhaps thrusting swords and ultra great swords. So, you know, any of these would probably bring like a couple issues, but those things I don't think would be as severe as making any one of these changes generally. You also have running attacks gain extra forward momentum. I think that this would be a great thing for encouraging more aggressive play because the running attacks are the bread and butter of aggressive play in this game, generally speaking. This is an idea that I thought was really good. R2s can release slightly faster, and a full charge comes out slightly faster. There are good R2s in this game, but I think this would make R2s phenomenal. Also, another iffy one, jump attacks slightly faster but hit slightly less hard. I feel like this could also be a neat idea for making them better at interweaving their aggression with different moves, but, you know. But yeah, with that being said, if you guys have any extra ideas or thoughts on what I've said here, please let me know in the comment section. I would love for this video to get good traction because I want there to be as good of a chance as possible for From Software's balance team to be able to hear that we're not happy with the slight range debuff that Light Rolls had a couple patches back, that that's not enough and that it is a very uninteresting way of making a completely different build type. You know, Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring are just really not balanced that well around light load, whereas Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2, I think, had it much more ingrained into how they were going to be designed, right? There's not really like a problem roll catching someone in Dark Souls 1 or 2 when it comes to light load. Now, that's not including the Dark Moon Ring. I'm not talking about that. But in terms of like normal light roll and also Dark Souls 2's version, like you can still roll catch people with just about anything. So, well, with that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Once again, leave your ideas in the comments section. And next time I make one of these balance videos, which will hopefully be soon once I've collected some footage, it'll be either about power stancing or it will be about mages. So stay tuned for that. Well, in the meantime, I hope you guys have a good night. Peace. Okay, dude. I can't heal. Fuck. And that's how you use Flaming Strike, ladies and turds.